Alrighty, so it's a lab day, but some of you did have questions about creating pickup items, making your windscreen show, and you're still having issues with building the actual game. Like, I've seen it. So, yeah. Basically, I've already scripted everything, I've already set everything up, so I'm just going to walk you through how I would do it. The scripts are in whatever this week's module is, but they exist so that you guys can literally just copy paste them, use them how you see fit, and you'll probably have to make some edits depending on how you're wanting to do with your game, but they at least give you some sort of go by. So let's talk about what I have in here. So I went ahead and I downloaded the standard assets and I used the FPS controller, only I added an extra capsule collider onto it so that I know for sure that there's a capsule collider that'll collide with everything. Then I have these little objects that it's just one, it's a prefab, and it's just a sphere. It also has a trigger on it, so it has a sphere collider which automatically comes in, but I've set it to triggers because, so in my experience, triggers work a lot better than collision as far as when it comes to coding. So I use triggers. Sometimes I use collision for other things, but I use triggers in general. The way to get around that, if you still need something to collide but you also need it to be a trigger, would be to have two of them. So you can always come in and say, hey, add component, add another collider, and make it slightly smaller, and then make your trigger slightly bigger so there's a little bit of space between the trigger and the collider. So that's how you can kind of make it solid and not solid at the same time. That being said, you could also raycast, which is what the Haunted Jaunt showed you guys how to do. So that's great if you're trying to shoot targets, because you don't actually have to rely on, say, a collider box on a bullet hitting something. Instead, you can just raycast. And I won't be going over that, but if you want, eventually I can. It's kind of up to you guys. So this just has a little particle effect on it, just because it does, not anything for any reason. Then I've got two cubes, and these are to show you how to do kind of a locked pickup situation. So say you can only unlock like a door, or unlock, you can only pick up one item if you have another item already kind of in your inventory. So yeah, so let's talk about how all these are set up. Again, they're set up so that they all have triggers on it. The one that's really good to see that's got both a trigger and a collider on it is this guy over here. So you can see there, this like internal one is the collider, this external one is the trigger. And that's specifically so that if you run into it and you don't pick up the key, it's like, yeah, now you can't get it. But if you already have the key, it triggers and life is good. So you're going to see over here, I've got a collection of scripts, and basically these work in pairs of two. So the score holder and pickup work together, and then locked pickup and key pickup work together. So on top of everything else, if we come over to the game, you're going to see I have a score. So I have a text box for score, and I have a pop-up that says you win. Now you can start with it on or you can start with it off. Basically, we're going to programmatically tell it to start off. So if you want it to just stay popped up, fine, that's great. If you don't, you can turn it, you can come in here and say, hey, yeah, turn it off. So we can come over here and be like, yeah, no, go away. You can do something like that. But it's up to you. Excuse me. Okay, so let's talk about how we actually script these things. So when it comes to our FPS, our player, I don't need anything extra on them, because we're not working with anything that they're doing, we're just working with these extra objects. So I've created a thing called score holder, and if we come over here, and I've commented these out for you guys, so they should be pretty easy to use. We want to make sure that we're using Unity Engine.ui. That's the first thing. Remember, that's not automatically built into using Unity Engine, so you gotta tell it, hey, yeah, I want to use UI elements. So you put that there. Then I'm taking a public text for the score, and a public for you win, and then I have this one called current score, and something called top score, and you're like, huh, okay, well, how does that work? Well, some of you had this idea that you had to collect X amount of things before you won, and then the you win things pops up. So that's how that would work. So if you don't need a top score, you can completely delete that top score. You don't need to do anything. Or maybe you want to save a top score from the last playthrough. I don't know. Whatever you want to do. So basically it's set up so that you have to build up to that score. So we could technically also, even if we wanted to display it, we could say like 1 out of 20. So the current score out of the top score. So if you wanted to make it more easy to follow. But, and I can show you how to do that too. So, yeah, so the first thing that we do once we've got these kind of variables set up is that we want to make sure to set you win. So that's our thing that pops up if you've won. We want to set it to false. We want to say, hey, yeah, no, don't show this at the beginning. We don't want to show this because you haven't won yet. We want to show it later. And to do that, we just have to set it active to false. So we say you win. So that's the text object that we've created. And we say, hey, take the game object and set active. Is it active? Nah, it's not active. So it's false. And then this is one that's going to look a little bit different from stuff that we've done. And what this does, and this is not a great idea to use all the time. For simple things at the start, maybe not so bad. But you shouldn't be, you know, searching by name. Searching by tags is better than searching by name. But still, you should be using it kind of like a one and done dump. You shouldn't be putting find game object with tag or find game object with name every update. So in this case, what we're doing is we're saying, hey, the top score is equal to this thing, which is an array, which means it's a list of the things. So it's a list of the things with the tag pickup. And how long is that list? And so we're just looking for the list of, or the length of that list. And then we're storing it into top score. So in this case, if we look back over here, it's 3. Because these guys aren't included. They're kind of a separate demo. So it's these 3. So the top score is 3, so that's what we're trying to do. And again, I always debug log everything because I want to make sure things are working. So that's what this says. And then inside of update, all we need to do is say, hey, score text.text, so the text component of our score text, we want it to equal to score is, and then current score. And what we could do, like I said, is we could do current score, and then plus, that helps, right? And then plus top score. So if we wanted it to view kind of more like that, so that it's X out of X, then we could 100% do that. And that's how we display the score. So that being said, all we need to say is, hey, if the number of pickups, which is equal to our current score, is equal to the total number of pickups that could be picked up, then set you win to active. That's kind of the base of how this works. So the one thing that you're seeing is we're not increasing the score anywhere in here. So how does the score increase? Because like right now, technically, if it wasn't already attached to everything and we played this script, all you would see would be whatever we set initially. Again, I put this on my canvas because I do. We would see this current score, and that's all we would see. So if we click play, and I didn't do something, so you're going to see it says score 0 of 3 in the top left corner. If you press, when you've got the things from standard assets, if you press escape, it'll let you have your mouse back so you can actually kind of scroll over here. So it says score 0 out of 3. And what eventually will happen is we're going to make it so that if you hit these, you know, you get 3 out of 3, you win. So how do we actually make the score increase? Well, again, because we want this to be kind of on its own, we want it to be easy to use, we're going to make a separate thing for pickup. Or at least I would. You could always combine it if you really wanted to, but I don't suggest it. So, we create a new script called pickup. And this is going to be attached to any object that's a pickup. And the other thing that you need to make sure is inside of this, which I totally messed up. Inside of here, when you are creating your pickups, make sure it has a pickup tag. So, and what I mean by that is over inside of Unity, if we come to these spheres, which I haven't renamed, I have a tag called pickups. So we just did that by adding the tag and adding the name, and that's why this works here, because it has to follow the same name here. So if you call it something different, just change that out to whatever you called it. Okay, so back to the pickup script. Super short, super simple. All this does is say, hey, public score holder scorer, so that's getting access to an object that has this script on it. So in this case, it's the canvas. So if we come back over here, we can see, hey, the canvas is right here where it says scorer. So the canvas, not just the script, the actual thing with the script on it. And then all we do here is we say, hey, yeah, I've got a trigger on me, so if my trigger gets hit by something else, let's check and make sure that the other thing is the player. So again, make sure that your player is tagged player. And then, hey, if it is, again, I've got a debug log, but what it's going to do is it destroys the game object. So it says, you know, just yeet it from existence. And then take the score that we have, so the current score that we have, and add one to it. So what if your score is going by 5s or 10s or whatever? Well, that would be, you know, score equals score plus equals plus equals, and then, you know, 5. Or you could say, if that doesn't make sense to you, you could say equals score dot current score plus 5. We can pretend like I can type today. Wow. Plus 5. So you could do something like that. But the shorthand for it is just to do it like that. So that just adds 1 to your score. And that's it. That's all there is to it. So now, if we come back in over here, we're going to see our pickup has a sphere collider on it that's set to a trigger. It's got the script. Score is the canvas, so we grab the canvas from here and we drag it in. Or to see a list of everything that has that on it, you just click this little button and you drag the thing down. Like, it'll list anything that's got it on it. Anything that doesn't have it on it, it won't let you access, which is pretty cool. So that's how that works. And that's it. Literally, that's it. That's getting you win to pop up. That's getting you to pick up all the things. Now, say you wanted a power up to happen. Again, that's really simple, because what you would do is you would say, you know, inside of score holder, you would maybe have another thing, or you would access another script that, you know, if this is picked up and if this is this kind of thing, or if this is this, then or even inside of your pickup, if this is this, if this is that, then do this thing. Like, it's not complicated. Basically, that's why I show you guys triggers really early, because triggers kind of make the world go round. Now, if we're talking about how to make a locked pickup, so say you need a key to undo a door, or you need, I don't know, fireproof oven mitts to get something out of the oven. You know, something like that. So you need one item to pick up another item, or one item to unlock a door, or one item to do this and that. And yeah, probably the most common thing would be, hey, you need a key to be able to unlock the door. So for that, I've got 2 more things, and they're separate from this. You could 100% kind of combine them or add in that functionality, but in this case, I just said, hey, they're not actually part of this, so they're not going to get a score or anything like that. So what we can do instead is I have these 2 objects. One is a key, which is this guy, because yeah, I've actually got key models and then I just didn't do it. So we're going to say this is a key, and you're looking to pick it up. And then this is your locked item that you can only pick up if you've got the key. So to do that, again, these are relatively short and simple kind of things. You're going to see that our pickup item, so the item that we need the key for, actually has 2 colliders on it. One is the box collider, so that it's solid, and then 1 is a trigger to get kind of the on trigger, because again, I like on trigger over on collision because I can never get on collision to work quite like how I want it, especially when you were talking about capsule colliders, because the issue with a capsule collider is because it's so smooth and there's such a tiny point that it can actually contact with that it doesn't always register like it's supposed to. So with that said, let's look at the scripts. So we have locked pickup on the thing that we want to be picked up that's locked, and then we have a key pickup on the key pickup. So the first thing, let's look at the locked item so that we can talk about that. So the locked item, super simple. All we need to say is, hey, for this locked item, do we have the key that opens it? So we set that as a public and we set it to false, because at the beginning of everything, no, we don't have it. We don't have it. We need to pick it up still. And then we say, yeah, on trigger enter, so just our normal trigger guy. If the other, or if the tag of the other thing that's colliding with us is the player, and if they have the key, so you could say other.tag player, and if you really wanted to, you could say and got key. You could do it that way, or you could nest them together. It depends on how you want to do it and how the logic makes sense to you. They're both correct. Some people will argue that you should put this up here because it makes it simpler or less lines, but it doesn't really matter. Like, logically, it doesn't really matter. So all we gotta say is, hey, if we have the key, then do whatever we need to do with it. If it's pick up, then, you know, basically take this stuff out of here and pop it into here. In this case, I've just written debug logs because I don't really know what I want this thing to do yet. So I've debug log.got it, and then else. So if we don't have the key, what do? We pop up something that says locked. So maybe in this case, we would add another object and say, you know, public text. We need to add public text. We might do something like that, and we might say, hey, start, and we set the locked item. So just like we did over wherever we did in score holder. So this, we're gonna set it. We're gonna set active to false again. So locked item dot game object dot set active false. And so what we can do is we can say, hey, you know, if you don't have the key, then pop up this item until you exit the collider or something like that. So we could say and then again we could say, you know, on trigger exit. Oops. And we could say locked item dot game object dot set active false. So in this case, we'd have to come back over into here, and we'd have to let it do its thing. And if we come down here, you're going to see we have this thing, so let's go ahead and add a new UI object, text. Let's see where it's putting that. Let's canvas. And then I'm just gonna put it in the center. Make it a little bit bigger. And then so in that case, we would come over here to where we have this thing that says, hey, locked item. So, and we'll grab that text, we'll dump it in there. And now when we play, if I haven't done anything wrong, if we come over here without grabbing the key, and we hit it, you're gonna see we get that whole item is locked, pick up the key. So when we step away, it goes away. When we click it, it goes in, away, away, knocked up against it, it still displays it. So now, when we come over here and we pick up our key, if we come over here, it just says got it. There's no pop-up anymore because we have it. So that's a way to do pop-ups as well. And generally a lot of times you'll have like some sort of selection for pop-ups where you put a background and stuff on it. So just, you know, just do you. So once we have this kind of written, this whole, you know, locked item, you're going to notice that we have nothing that says, well, when do we get the key? There's nothing in here. We just have this whole got key. And that's because it's not in this script. Where it's at is in our key pickup. And you can see our key pickup is actually really, really short. And all it does is it accesses the locked item. So, and this is a great way to pair keys. So say you have to have the red key to open the red door. This means that you can have a red key that opens a red door and a blue key that opens a blue door, because you can look specifically for the match. So all we say is private void on trigger. Hey, if the player gets me, then got key of this one thing that's a locked item is equal to true, and then destroy the key. So make it so that it doesn't show anymore. Now, what I'm saying about, you know, this idea of blue versus red, because that may seem a little bit confusing, is now that we have this set up, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to duplicate this guy, and let me add a new material. We're going to change him over to, I don't know, let's change him to red. And then we'll dump that on that guy. So in this case, what we can do is we can say, hey, what we need is for this key to only communicate with this item. So this key, you're going to see we now have two. So we're going to grab the second one. And now it should happen is if we come and we pick up this first key that should be for this blue one. If we come over and around and try and grab the red cube, this guy, he shouldn't be happy. So see, he's not happy because we've specifically made it so that it will only pick up the blue cube. So see, we've got it. So now we got to pick up this guy so that we can pick up the red cube. And you're seeing it's displaying got it. So that's one of the reasons to write this the way we do, because it means that we can use it for multiple things. We don't have to write a new script for every single one. This means that we know for sure, hey, yeah, this key goes with this key goes with this, and that's how easy that is. So that's literally it. That's all I had to talk about today, except for how to build your projects, because a lot of y'all are still building them wrong when you submit them to me. I'm sending you nasty messages. And so let's talk about what exactly I'm wanting you guys to do. If you press file, if you do build or build and run is going to be your best friend, because you want to test that build and make sure that it's working. So once you have all of this done, go somewhere that is not inside your project. So maybe in here, create a new folder. Call it whatever you want to call your build. So in this case, I'm just going to call it test build. And then you're going to select the folder, and it's going to be like, hey, yeah, I'm going to do this thing, and it's going to take 8 million years to think about it. Because that's what this is. It's just going to take 8 million years to think about everything. So, because why would it not, right? Right, why would we be so good as for it to not be 8 million years? But basically what you're going to do is once you actually build into that folder, you're going to take that entire folder, or at least all of the contents inside the folder, and zip them together for me. So, and it's going to say, hey, yeah, I succeeded. I built it. Look, I built the thing. And it's going to be black because there's probably not a scene in there. Oh, there we go. And so you can see, we now have a build. Can now do all the things. Yay, you win. Life is good. If I grab that key and I try and red, item is locked, pick up the key. But that item is okay. You know. And then what I want from you is for you to take, so this is in my desktop, it's in my fall 2020 folder. It's this thing called test build. You can either right click and send to zip here. So send to compress zipped folder. You can either do that and then send me what that makes, or you can come in here and grab all 5 of these items, right click, send to, and compress those. That's what I need. When I'm talking about a build, that's what I need. I need everything that's in this folder that you build for your build. Versus a project is this actual thing right here. Now, if you want to limit the size of your window or anything, if you come into build settings, you can come into your player settings, and this is where you can say, hey, I want the resolution and presentation. I don't want it to be full screen. I want it to be a window. How big do you want the window? Do you want us to support certain aspect ratios? Do you want the player to be able to do things? So, like, do you want them to be able to resize the window? In general, no, you don't. Those kinds of things. That's all inside of here. And that's what I need for your build. Now, the other question that some of you have had is, how do you make it so that you can actually escape from your window? So for that, we're using it's application.quit for Unity, and you can do you know, a bunch of different ways for how to do it. The way that I've shown you in the past, if I come over and find it again because I literally just closed it, is when you press like the Q key or when you press the escape key. It depends on how you're wanting to do it. If I come down here to Bunny Hop, I can show you where it is inside of these. That way you have an actual version of it. So show an explorer, it'll think for way too long. And if you come inside of here, inside of the assets folder, because you have access to all these, inside of scripts, inside of, it should be in the game manager, I think. This is going to open in Dreamweaver because I just haven't disconnected it yet. And all you gotta do is this line right here. Those sets of line right there. Just chunk it somewhere. Doesn't really matter where you put it. And that's if you press the escape key. If you want it to be coded to a different key, you would code it to a different key. So you can just copy that. You can say, let's see, let's make an empty object called manager. And then we can create a script, create C# script, quitter, and then an update. All we have to do is that. So now you won't see this inside of Unity. So we gotta attach it. We gotta make sure to attach it because otherwise it won't work. So, but now when we build and run, and once you build and run into one folder, it'll say, yeah, that's where you want to build again. Okay, cool. Once we build the second time and it thinks about it for probably way too long again, see, because we made the window smaller. If we press the escape key, it's going to close out for you. That's it. Alright. So with that said, the rest of today is lab time for y'all to do whatever you need to do, whether that's catching up with assignments or working on your games. I'm here. I exist. Ask me questions if you need them. I may be gone for like 5 or 10 minutes, but that's just to grab, something from the kitchen to eat and drink. But I've got my phone with me, so if anybody asks questions, I'm here too. So yeah. So have a lovely, lovely day. On Tuesday, we will be talking about nav meshes and getting your AI to use that nav mesh. Alright, talk to you guys later.